Hi, and thank you for clicking on another video of God Allows U-Turns. Let me tell you that you guys make my day just by clicking and receiving the message that I feel like God gives for me to, give to you. And I'm really excited because this is part 2 of I'm having this anti-racist videos that I'm doing, and I'm just going to do 2. This is the last one that I'm doing, but it's just to create awareness in some of the racial aspects that people do not talk about. Some people don't talk about it because it's uncomfortable, or others simply just don't understand it. And I think that it's just pivotal that we understand each other in order to wipe away the racism. I think a lot of racism is based on misunderstanding, misinformation, and going along what the stereotypical aspects of other people's cultures, basically. And well, without further ado, let's start. First of all, I want you to watch this video, okay? So I'm going to set it up for you. This video shows a little girl who is 4 years old, okay? And her hairstylist is doing her hair, and while the hairstylist is doing her hair, the child makes a comment about how she feels about herself, and she calls herself ugly. And it's so heartbreaking the way she does it, The little girl says it with such conviction, that she actually believes that she's ugly. At that age, that's an age where a child should worry about, not finding her favorite doll or missing her favorite cartoon. That should be the biggest problem of a 4-year-old, not worrying that she's ugly. And she's heartbroken about it. It seems that she has been told this several times, and I'm assuming that if she goes to preschool or a kindergarten, that she has heard this from her peers, from kids in school, because we know that kids can be cruel. They are a reflection of their homes, and there are parents that do speak racial slurs at home, and you think the child is not picking up on it, but they actually do. And when they go to school, they repeat it, and they don't mean it that way, the way that grown-ups do, because they haven't experienced any of that yet. But they say it, and once you say something like that, you can apologize, but it's still it hurts the child, and you can never unsay anything to a child ever. I mean, it's just out there. You said it, and the only way that you can really cure that child's heart is by example, and with time and a lot of love, in order for her to come back and believe that she is beautiful. More so, that her heart is beautiful, that inner beauty is what matters. It doesn't matter what society has said. So we have to be very cautious of this when we approach children, or we think that, oh, they're just children, they don't understand. They do understand. Children are very, very smart. So watch this.
I'm not even playing with you. I don't even like kids.
I'm so ugly. What?
Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. You are so pretty. When you look at yourself, you supposed to say, I'm so pretty. You are so pretty. Do you hear me? You got the prettiest little dimples. You are too cute. No, you gonna make me cry. You're not ugly. Baby girl. Oh my God, Ariana, you're not ugly.
That was very moving, wasn't it? It really touched my heart. I want you to see now how the hairstylist is able to turn it around, turn that moment around. And maybe at some point in your life you're going to come to a situation like this, and you will ask yourself, how could I turn this around? You know, how could I make this situation better? And it's so amazing how this hairstylist she found right away, she found the good traits that this little girl had, and she brought them out to her so that she would know, look what you have, look at the beautiful things that you have. And I want you to look at this.
You are so pretty. You are like, you have this beautiful chocolate skin. Like, you are just so gorgeous. You got these dimples. Remember what I told you? How many people got 2 dimples? Nobody. You got 2. Let me see you smile. Let me see. You got 2 dimples. I don't even have 2 dimples. Girl, let me see your teeth. Look at them pretty white teeth. No, you're not going to cry. You are a beautiful little girl, and you are pretty. You are the prettiest girl in your class. Boom. Tell them straight up. When you go to school tomorrow, you got your hair done. You're going to be like, oh, look at my hair. Oh, look at my shoes. Look at my clothes, baby girl. You are beautiful. Black is beautiful. And if don't nobody ever tell you, I will tell you, you are gorgeous.
Okay, now, that little girl was 4 years old. Now, let's fast forward 12 years later, and let's pretend that this is that little girl, okay? So she's 16 right now, and her name is Coco, okay? This is a different video of a girl who is 16. She's a junior in high school, and she's going through the same problem, okay? Now, the hairstylist in a 4-year-old, she was able to intervene and turn the situation around, okay? But unless you have parents, school, community that is aware of this and can constantly give you positive reinforcement, you know, to the child, all right, she may forget about that particular situation because she will hear that again, okay? And we all know that it's easier to remember and to be affected by negative words than by the positive ones, okay? Someone can come and tell you 10 wonderful things about you, but if they come and say one thing that's bad, you kind of focus on that and that, like, oh, well, they say I'm nice and pretty and this and that, but they say I'm a pain in the butt. So, you know, it's like you always remember the bad part, you know, you always remember the bad quality. So it's important for us to be aware of this, okay? Because like I told you in the previous video, we are our brother's keeper, okay? And this is all of our responsibility. This is not the responsibility of only a black female role model for her or, you know, in the black community. This is our responsibility as well. Hispanics, whites, we all are in this together. And we all, as a community, especially as a Christian community, we have to reinforce this in our kids. And all right, so let's fast forward 12 years later with Coco, who is 16, okay? And let me set it up for you real quickly here. The principal was called to the classroom because there was an altercation between Coco and some boys in her class. And the police was called in because she was very aggressive. She said that, you know, if you, you know, said a whole bunch of bad words to the guys and threatened them that she was going to call her brother to beat them up. The teacher, of course, she took it very seriously, but she was also like a new teacher. She wasn't sure what to do or how to handle the situation. She was more frightened, and I don't think she really took, you know, a good look at what was going on. So she called the principal. She handled it right. You know, she did due process and took all the right steps. The principal came and began talking to Coco, and I want you to listen very carefully to what Coco says to the principal.
All right, so do you want to tell me before I tell you what she said happened in there?
I'm tired of everybody messing with me.
Tell me what messing with me looks like.
Like saying stuff to me.
What kind of stuff?
That I'm ugly and stuff. I really don't want to go to this school no more.
The last thing I would describe you as is ugly. You know how many times people talk about me every time I walk in the room?
Yeah, but this not their first time talking about me.
Dude, I want you to listen to me. You know how many people talk about me every time I walk in the room? I don't know either. No one cares. Do you know why? I want to do what I'm going to do anyway, right? You want me to tell you what my parents told me about why people talk about other people? Because they ain't got nothing going on. People are talking about me, I feel good. That means I'm important enough to get their attention. You're important enough to get somebody's attention. How you respond to that attention, that's on you. That's where you have control. When you did what you did today, you let everybody control your emotions. They let you control how you feel, how you spend your time, where you spend your time. You can never give up your power to people. So talk to me about dropping out of school. What's your future look like?
Nothing.
So, what were your grades like last year?
A's and B's.
A's and B's. I get A's and B's and I'm gonna drop out of school. Makes no sense. You're gonna let this emotion deprive you of opportunity. Can't get emotional. Okay? You good? You gonna stay? Seriously. Because if I had to come hunt you down, you know, if I don't see you, I'm gonna come in your house. Some of these.
Now, wasn't that video heartbreaking as well? To see what a little girl like that can grow up to think of herself, and that self-image is so important, you know, especially for us girls, you know, from the time that we're young. How she is tired, like she told the principal, of people just calling her ugly. She's heard it a lot, okay? This wasn't just one person when she was little, like I said. For you to get to a point to be either extremely sad or extremely angry at a situation, it means that, you know, those extremes are significantly important because they determine, you know, what you will be as an adult, you know, and you can tell that it has happened a lot. It's a build-up process, you know. It's something that they have built up inside, and it gets to a point where they can handle it anymore. And I'm so thankful that this was shown, because it shows that she's able to talk about it. You know, they're able to let out their feelings and deal with the situation. A lot of kids don't say anything about how they feel. They'll write it on a diary, or they'll cut and hurt themselves, and they'll wear long sleeves so you can't see that they're hurting themselves. Or, you know, they'll just commit suicide because of the pain that they carry inside. And that is why I want to involve everyone in this and make it so that you will understand that it's my responsibility, your responsibility. And after you watch this video, to tell others, look, we have to reinforce our children. We have to talk to them in positive words. We have to instill in them the love of God and talk about these issues with them from the time that they're young. Because as you can see, from the time that they're 4 years old or even younger than that, it's already instilled in them, you know, their self-image. You know, they'll start really looking at themselves in the mirror, and they'll start listening to everything you have to say about them. They may seem like they're playing and they're not really paying attention to you, but they really are. Okay, so it's important to understand why this happens, okay? And as you can see, the kids that were bothering this girl, they were not white, they were black as well, you know? And they knew that calling her ugly was going to bother her. And the reason for this is because there is a spectrum, okay, in the black community, right? And this is of colors. If you are of lighter skin, then you are considered to be more attractive. You are considered to have better job offers, more friends, better relationships, guys like you more. modeling contracts, acting jobs. The doors just open more for you if you are of a lighter skin. Now, go to the other spectrum. The darker you are considered not very attractive. They make fun of each other's skin, you know, and they try to be funny, but at the same time they're hurting each other by saying those things, okay? And so that happens a lot, and it's called colorism. And they battle each other in that community. They battle each other with that, you know. And I think it is so sad that this is even an issue, you know. I really don't understand it at all. Like I told you in my previous video, my husband is a dark color, and I've always preferred darker men, you know, and guys from the time that I was young and everything. And I think that is so awful that God has given us such a beautiful rainbow of colors that we are, you know. He gave us melanin so we could appreciate each other, so we can choose what we like. God says, you know, I'm gonna make them as white as they can be, as dark as they can be, different shades, colors, sizes. They can't complain, you know, that I didn't make, you know, someone to their liking, because they have a lot to choose from. Guess what? God gives us that gift, and we make fun of it, and we're like, ugh. We decide what's attractive or not, you know, in our society. And it's very sad that this has to be this way. And I never noticed it before, you know, like when I was growing up, you know. I think that if you remember our first dolls, you know, if you ever had a Barbie doll, they were white with blue eyes and blonde hair, and this nice plastic figure. And that was the standard of beauty back then. Oh, people would say, she's so beautiful, she looks like a Barbie doll, you know. So, and what's a Barbie doll? Well, blonde hair, blue eyes, and white, you know. There were no black Barbies when I was growing up at all. That came later on. And so the standard of beauty that existed was like, we wanted to be Farrah Fawcett, Cheryl Tiegs, Brooke Shields, you know, or Wonder Woman. Remember Linda Carter? You know, she would come, you know, and with her nice blue eyes and all this poofy hair, you know, and that was what we saw all the time. And can you imagine, just picture yourself, okay, being the way that you are, whatever nationality and ethnicity you are, okay? And all you see when you turn on the TV, or when you read a magazine, or when you go to the stores, are people mostly that are not of your ethnicity or culture or skin color. You see a completely different person, and so you cannot relate. And so you grow up thinking, well, you know, I'm not that attractive, you know, I'm not white, I'm not, you know. That's why they think the way they think, a lot of them, okay? Because it's been instilled in our society that way. And some of us we're not even aware of it, you know? Until somebody brings it to our attention. And that's why I'm speaking this to you, because I don't think it's something that we consciously, you know, do. I think most people, I want to believe that we do have good intentions, but we've been taught wrong, okay? And whatever, you know, if you've been taught to hate, that means that you can be taught to love, okay? Because whatever behavior you learn, you can also unlearn, all right? It only takes willpower and practice, okay? So there is still that battle there among them, and that is ours as well, okay? I want all of us to be in this together. I want to talk briefly on the BLM movement, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement. because I think that plays a part in today's society, big one. I mean, you see it all over, and I did some research on it, and the Black Lives Matter movement is it's a multi-million-dollar business. You know what I mean? They have a lot of money. They sell they have the donations that come from Hollywood and from the Democratic Party. They also have they sell merchandise. They sell caps, T-shirts, bumper stickers. They sell coolers. I mean, you name it, they have it. If it has Black Lives Matter, it's almost like a trend that's going on. Oh, let's make a trend out of it. And the reason why one of the reasons why this movement is very dangerous is because it doesn't come with the intention to lift up the Black community and to integrate everyone. Okay, it comes from a place of segregation. It comes from a place of hate and anger. It comes from a place of not wanting to better the Black community, but they want to make them out to be looked down upon. Okay, and one quick example of this is just recently here in Atlanta, a police officer shot a man and killed him, and there goes the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, so they formed this physical barrier, of all these young people. They stopped the traffic, so all the highway stopped. No cars could go through there. They burned the Wendy's restaurant, and as a result of that, 15 Wendy's employees that were Black were left with no jobs. Okay, so you tell me, how beneficial is the Black Lives Matter movement in a situation like that? And it's happening all the time. Little cases here and there. They see something that could be racial, and BLM. They right away. It's a business. It's a propaganda. It's a Democratic Party scam, and the way I see it that way is because I don't see any programs that are built up to make these African American males better men, of education programs and things like that. For instance, when George Floyd was shot, he was asphyxiated. Okay, I was the first one that said, look, this is disgusting, this should never happen. But at the same time, I was aware that George Floyd was not a martyr. His background did not display, the best life, However, nothing justifies what happened. But at the same time, the Black Lives Matter movement has made him into this almost Martin Luther King, celebrity type of thing, And where are Martin Luther King's quotes and his speeches and preachings? That man was brilliant, and he loved God so deeply. And his protests, they were very beneficial to the Black men. Okay, he was constantly talking about integration. He was constantly talking about that God wanted one nation, that we were all the same. And I saw an interview back in it was dated in 1961 that BBC did with Martin Luther King. Now, BBC is the British Broadcasting Network. And they asked him this straight up. They said, United States is the most racist country. You have the alternative to move anywhere else in the world and be accepted. Why do you choose to live here? And I'm paraphrasing what he said. He says he loves America. He loves it. And he thinks that he can make it better. And I really believe that he left a mark. I mean, he really did, because we're still talking about him today. okay? And he was just a great man, a great leader. And when you see now injustices and you see the NAACP, there are, right away coming out, and you see them in camera. Al Sharpton takes the reins. But does he really? I mean, he says the same message over and over again, and he wants to, he gives you a message of how the black males are just victims of the system, and they're just constantly victimizing the men over and over again, but never providing alternatives, never providing, better opportunities and programs for them to succeed. So why, if you are a leader, would you constantly talk about the problems and the issues that you're having, but yet no solutions are being done? It's not really, not really relatable, one with the other. If you have issues, then you have to come up with solutions as well. It has to be something that it works for everyone that is in the system. So as I was researching the BLM movement, I saw the names of the people that founded the movement. One of the names of the founders caught my eye because her name is Alicia Garza. That's a Hispanic name. So it caught my attention. I said, wow, I didn't know that one of the founders was Hispanic. So I kept on looking into it, and she's not. The reason why her last name is Garza is because she married Malachi Garza. Okay, so Malachi is a transgender male. In other words, she's really a woman. So she married Malachi, who is also an activist for the LGBTQ community. So you see how this whole thing just kind of intertwines together, they go together, they're mixed here. And what is going on now, what's happening now that you see, I hear YouTubers that say, somebody pressed the button and the world has gone crazy. They say the world has gone mad. Like, everybody says, I want things to be the way they were, So now we know that things were not as bad as we thought. And now we understand that when the president was saying, make America great again, it's starting to make sense. It does. And what is happening now is basically the culmination of all of these movements that have been, arising in the last years. And we haven't really been noticing or connecting the dots. But I want to tell you about them so that you will know. Okay, so first of all, we have the woke movement. And to be woke is like a term, a slang term that means, like, it comes from it means you're awakened, so they say, oh, I'm woke, so it basically describes how progressive you are. Okay, for instance, if you believe in abortion, oh, you're woke. If you don't, oh, you are just closed-minded, ignorant, and just, all the terms that come with that, so you're not woke, you're not part of it, right? So picture the woke movement as an umbrella, and these are the sub-movements that are that created this whole mess that we are in right now. Okay, so you have the LGBTQ movement, and I think we all know what that is. We have the radical feminism, and I have a video on that I have to show, but so much has been going on that I haven't been able to, push play on that, but I will. But basically, it is that when we think of feminism, on paper, it looks great. Women can vote, women can have the same pay as men, can have leadership positions, and on and on. It looks great, right? It used to be that feminism, they wanted to be equal to men, all right? But we all know what our roles are. God made our differences for a reason. And it's now in 2020, that's not the reason for the feminist movement anymore. It's not anymore to be equal, but it's more to be superior to the man. And men have been disrespected so much. And I'm not going to get into it right now because it's not the topic. But women have really disrespected men and have lost that, and have taken away their authority in the home and in society. And that has really damaged and caused a lot of hurt in marriages and in a lot of relationships. Another movement is the pro-choice movement, okay? That, again, if you don't believe in that, then you are, you're just not woke. Come on, you gotta be woke. That's what they say. And it's funny because I just want to show you these are all movements that are backed up by the Democratic Party, okay? And they are constantly on in mainstream media, in the news, okay? And whenever the president opposes any of these movements, okay, they make him out to be just a horrible human being, okay? He's a horrible human being because he is negating these rights to all these people, in certain aspects. And so we blame the president for that, and that's what is going on right now. Everything is politically linked here, okay? Because they want to blame the president for the pandemic, and they want to blame the president for the shooting of the officers, and they want to blame them for you name it. Something goes bad tomorrow, it's Donald Trump's fault. It's just, that's the way it is. And I'm not, blind or deaf to not see his faults, because I know he's cocky and he can be very arrogant. But at the same time, and this is just because I want to answer a question that a lot of people sometimes ask me, because they are like, well, you say that you are an independent thinker, but yet you back up Donald Trump, and you're a Christian and he talks horribly, so how could you reconcile one with the other? And the simple answer that I can give you with that is just that I don't agree with everything that happens in the Republican Party. I don't. But we always have to go with whatever's closest to our beliefs, our core values. And my core values come from the Bible. And so I have to back up a precedent that is going to lift up those values, and it's going to keep them there. And that is going to sign for us to be able to pray when we want to pray. And it's not going to take away our rights. And a precedent that is not going to tell me that it's okay for a 4-year-old to say, to determine what gender they are, and so on and so forth. There's just so many issues here. And so that is the reason why. I want you to see the values of the Democratic Party. They are not what they seem to be. And I wish you could see it, because I want you to see how they use these good causes, to pass their legislations. For instance, they used the Lgbtq movement, okay, as a cause. Oh no, we have to be understanding of them, because if we don't accept them to be transgender, then there are a high rate that they will commit suicide, and then we are we're going to be responsible for a lot of deaths. When in reality, if you do your research, and I did it, the kids in middle school or in high school that have some type of gender dysphoria, or are going through some type of phase where they feel like they're the different sex that they were born with, the different gender, and they feel suicidal after they get their surgery, their sex change. Their suicidal thoughts do not go away. They still have suicidal tendencies. So as you can see, that wasn't an issue. It's not that problem. The problem comes a lot of times from the home and the way they've been raised, and problems in the home family structure, so many reasons why. But to allow at such a young age someone to, just have their sex changed when they're still being developed, their mind is still growing, and you're telling them that it's okay, it's just plainly wrong. But the Democratic Party says, oh, that's very cruel. The same with abortion. They want to call themselves pro-choice, but they're not, because if we are pro-life, then abortion is pro-death. Oh, but that sounds too, terrible. So we'll just say we're pro-choice, because we're giving women the choice to either you can, keep the baby or kill it. And it's not the same, because it's a fetus. It's not a child yet. It's not developed into a baby yet. So it's okay to just kill it right now. And they'll tell you, they'll be like, well, women have the right to choose, because if they get raped and they don't need to have the baby, and just anything that they can come up with, so that can happen, or they'll tell you that if they don't provide Planned Parenthood, then these women will go to places where will be like butcher shops and get butchered inside, trying to get rid of the baby, and women get killed, or they get diseases by doing that. So you see how they play along with it, they make you feel guilty because you're not being charitable enough, you're not being a good person if you don't do this, if you don't like the Black Lives Matter movement, then you're a racist, you're being you're not woke, you're being very close-minded. So it's like they make you go to extremes, it's either you're with us or you're against us, and that's it, that's the way they have to come and justify, what they want to pass as legislation. And in this case, they are desperate. They are desperate because they don't want Donald Trump to win this election. And so they are attacking him every way possible that they can. I'm really disappointed in the Spanish news, Univision channel. I'm not surprised at all. Univision is like, I would say it's like watching ABC News, or CNN, because there is this reporter called Jorge Ramos, and he is like I compare him a lot to Anderson Cooper in CNN. He is just goes for Trump, all the time. Trump can do nothing right. But what I don't like about him the most is that he keeps Mexicans victimized constantly. He's constantly talking about how poor, Hispanics, that they're not getting ahead, and they are always heard their hard stories, and he never talks about the side of Hispanics that are positive, influential, that Hispanics that are business owners and get ahead here, and he's always putting Hispanics down, especially the Mexicans, because he is Mexican. And that's a big disservice. It's like what Al Sharpton does with the Black community as well. And so that's why I said in the first video to be very cautious about the type of news that we watch, because they're biased. They really are. Journalism now, it's not what it used to be. It used to be a lot better before. It used to be more neutral, and you could actually get some really good information. But now if you wanted information now, there are other venues that you can use as well. Lastly, I don't really want to politicize this channel, but it's inevitable that we have to touch on political points here and there every now and then, especially because this is election year too. But more importantly, what I wanted really through this video is to show you how we can integrate and not segregate. We want to come together. We want to to fight this together. All right, if you I've had Black people tell me Well, it's not up to you to forgive anybody. It's up to us because we're the black people, you know. And I said, no, you're wrong. I said, it's up to me too because I feel your pain, you know. I get, it hurts me if they mistreat you. And they look at me like, what? It does? Like, it really bothers you? I'm like, yeah, it bothers me, you know. And I think it's time for us to do that. We have to show each other love through our actions and also through our words. They need to hear that we are there for them, that we care for them. They're not gonna come to you and say, hey, do you care for me? No, we have to show it. And we have to come together as one, because God doesn't see, he created our melanin for us, you know. This is for us, so we could see each other and see what we like and describe each other. Okay, that's us. But God sees our interior. He sees our heart. He sees our soul. He sees what we cannot see. And that is what he sees. And right now, the way things are going around, I don't think God likes what he's seeing right here. Okay? And just to give you an idea of how awesome God is, I want to read a few verses here. One is in Galatians 3:28, okay? And this one, he is just to show you how, I mean, slavery and racism and all that, it's old as time. I mean, it's old. It's been going on for a long time. So here in Galatians 3:28, he's saying, there is neither Jew or Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. And the reason why he says Jew or Greek was because back then there was a big, you know, I wouldn't say misunderstanding, but just hatred among both cultures, because the Jews did not like the Gentiles, and you know, vice versa. But they always thought, the Jewish people thought that no, we are the chosen people, and they are not, you know. So we are better. That's how Jewish people saw themselves, okay? Because they knew that they were God's chosen people. But since they rejected Jesus, they rejected him, then God said, okay, then I'm going to allow the Gentiles. And the Gentiles were open to receive Jesus. And so this is why in Acts 10:34, Peter, who was one of the apostles and he was Jewish, finally gets it. And so he says, I now realize how true it is that God does not show favoritism, but accepts men from every nation who fear him and do what is right. God doesn't have any favoritism. And when he says that accepts men, that means women. That means all of it. All of us. Okay? That is the way things are worded in the Bible. But it says that we have to fear him, but it's not the type of fear that you're afraid of him. It's a reverence that you have towards the Bible, towards his teachings. It's and it says to do what is right. And to give you just one quick example of what is not being reverent to God, what he doesn't like. An example would be, I can think of it right now. If you remember this press conference when the mayor of New York, Mario Cuomo, he was asked by the press, this question. He said, are you thankful to God that the numbers are getting better as far as the virus goes, and how do you feel about that? And he said, I'm paraphrasing, but this is exactly what he said, God had nothing to do with this. The real heroes are the doctors and the nurses. At the same time, you flip the channel to the governor of Georgia at his press conference, and before he says anything, he calls in a minister to open up in prayer before he starts the press conference. Okay, so you can see there the difference. Okay, so when God says that God accepts men from every nation who fear him and do what is right, Mayor Cuomo is the perfect example of not fearing God, not having any reverence whatsoever. He could care less. The real heroes to him are doctors and nurses. God had nothing to do with this. Meanwhile, what is the state of New York right now as far as the virus goes? Doesn't look good. What is the state of Georgia now? A lot better, isn't it? And God is very faithful, but at the same time, God teaches us lessons, and sometimes he allows things to happen so that we can learn our lesson and understand and turn around, turn our ways to him, and live a life of righteousness before him. And that's why I always encourage you that if you're going on the wrong path, you can turn around, make a U-turn, and start all over again. And God allows it, and he wants it. He's waiting for you with open arms because he loves you. And he's right here, he says it, you know, that we are all one in Christ Jesus. He sees us all the same. And that's the way we have to see each other as well. I want to encourage you to share this message with others, to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. It's a free way of helping me out, and at the same time, you're being a blessing to me, and I hope I'm a blessing to you too. God bless you.